As I stood in the dimly lit kitchen, I couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement coursing through my veins. It was Halloween, and my daughter was about to come home from school. She'd been counting down the days, eagerly awaiting the evening's trick-or-treating adventure. I had the perfect costume ready for her. The clock on the wall seemed to tick louder with each passing second, and I carefully put the finishing touches on her lunch, making it as spookily festive as possible. The thought of her sweet smile when she saw her Halloween-themed lunchbox made me smile in return. I couldn't wait to see her joy. The door creaked open, and I knew my little ghoul had returned from school. "Mom, you won't believe the fun we had at school today," she exclaimed as she rushed into the kitchen. Her enthusiasm was infectious. We chatted about her day while I helped her change into her Halloween costume, a cute little witch with a sparkly hat. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the moon cast eerie shadows through our windows. It was time to embark on our Halloween adventure. As we stepped outside, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The street was quieter than usual. The air had a chill that seeped through my bones, and the moon hung heavy in the sky, its glow casting long, eerie shadows. Our neighborhood was usually bustling with kids in costumes, but now it felt deserted. We made our way to the first house, but there was no answer when we knocked on the door. Confused, we moved to the next one, and the one after that. With the same result: empty houses, no candy, and an unsettling silence. My daughter, undeterred, urged me to continue, but my unease deepened. We turned down a dark alley, the only route we hadn't explored, and there, we found a decrepit, abandoned house. It was shrouded in darkness, save for a single flickering lantern that swayed eerily. I hesitated, but my daughter's excitement was infectious. We approached the house, and as we reached the front door, it slowly creaked open, revealing a dimly lit hallway. The faint echoes of children's laughter and whispers emanated from inside. Against my better judgment, we stepped in. The hallway seemed endless, and each room held its own terrifying surprise room, filled with dusty dolls, another with flickering candles, and a third with a ghastly mirror that reflected distorted images of us. Panic set in as we realized we were trapped in this haunted house. We raced back to the front door, but it slammed shut, sealing our fate. The lantern dimmed, and an eerie voice whispered, "Welcome to our Halloween, where every night is Fright Night." The house came alive with ghostly apparitions, and my daughter's laughter turned to screams. We were surrounded by specters, all longing for their own lost Halloweens. I clung to my daughter, determined to protect her, but the spectral hands closed in around us. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, a brilliant light burst from the lantern. The spirits recoiled, and the front door swung open. We escaped the haunted house, our hearts pounding with terror. As we stumbled back into the moonlit street, our neighbors, still in costume, joined us. Having had their own harrowing experiences, together, we vowed to free the spirits and return Halloween to the way it should be. And so, we embarked on a quest to banish the darkness from our beloved holiday. The journey was fraught with peril, but in the end, we managed to restore the spirit of Halloween to its former glory. My daughter and I returned home, our bond stronger than ever, knowing we had survived a Halloween that would haunt us forever. Little did we know, the real nightmare had only just begun, and our lives would forever be entwined with the supernatural. I had been looking forward to this Halloween for months. It was a Saturday, the perfect opportunity to enjoy a night of spooks, thrills, and chilling adventures with my friends. There was only one problem: I had to work at the grocery store during the day, but I figured, once I clocked out at 7 p.m., I'd still have plenty of time to join my friends at the graveyard as the day wore on. I couldn't help but watch the clock, anxious to be free from my cashier's uniform. Finally, my shift ended, and I rushed home to change into my costume, a creepy zombie getup that I knew would get some screams from my friends. The anticipation swelled inside me as I made my way to the graveyard where we had planned to meet. But as I reached the entrance, I was met with an eerie silence. My friends were nowhere to be seen. I checked my phone, hoping for a message or call explaining their delay, but there was nothing. My excitement turned to concern. As I realized that something was amiss, the graveyard, shrouded in darkness, seemed more sinister than I had ever seen it. The moon cast long, ominous shadows, and the wind whispered through the tombstones like a mournful dirge. My imagination started to play tricks on me. As I thought I heard faint footsteps and distant, ghostly laughter, I decided to call my friends. But when I dialed their numbers, I couldn't get through to any of them. Panic set in as I contemplated my options. Should I wait longer, or should I leave? I didn't want to be alone in the graveyard, especially on Halloween night. Just as I was about to give up and head home, a strange, ethereal light appeared at the center of the cemetery. It was an otherworldly glow, impossible to ignore. Cautiously, I approached the source of the light, my heart pounding in my chest. As I reached the eerie light, I realized it was emanating from an ancient, ornate tombstone. The engravings were faded with time, but I could make out the words, "Here lies the guardian of the forgotten." Before I could react, a chilling voice whispered in my ear, "You've come to the realm of the lost, young one." I spun around, but there was no one in sight. My heart raced, and I began to back away from the tombstone. But the voice continued, "The veil between worlds is thin on Halloween night, and you have stumbled into the land of the forgotten." In a panic, I turned to flee, but the ground trembled beneath me, and spectral hands erupted from the earth, grabbing at my legs, pulling me down into the grave beneath the tombstone. I screamed in terror, unable to break free from their grasp. As I was dragged deeper into the tomb, the world above grew darker, and the haunting voice whispered, "You are the guardian now, condemned to guard the forgotten for all eternity." My friends, it seemed, had not abandoned me. They had simply become part of the forgotten. And now, I joined them in a never-ending Halloween nightmare. My screams echoed in the darkness as the tombstone sealed shut above me, and I realized that my friends and I would spend eternity as the guardians of the lost souls, unable to escape our terrifying fate. I was in my late 20s, living alone in my own house that I had worked tirelessly to obtain. Success had finally smiled upon me, and I cherished my peaceful, child-free haven. Halloween was the one day I loathed. The day when little monsters would invade my sanctuary, demanding sweets. Every year, I went to great lengths to make my home appear unwelcoming to trick-or-treaters. I covered my property in beware signs, strung up fake cobwebs, and kept all my lights off, hoping to deter any costume-clad invaders. One Halloween night, as I settled into my dimly lit living room, a chilling wind rustled through the trees outside. I heard the unmistakable patter of footsteps on my porch, followed by a hesitant knock on my door. I cursed under my breath, and stomped over to confront the intruders, ready to give them a piece of my mind. But as I threw open the door, I was met with a sight that sent shivers down my spine. Instead of children in costumes, I was faced with the eerie glow of ethereal figures, their eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. They were not children, but spectral beings. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to slam the door shut, but a powerful force kept it open. The apparitions floated into my home, their chilling laughter echoing in the air. I was trapped, cornered in my own house by entities from another realm. Each room I entered became a realm of horror. Objects levitated, paintings oozed blood, and the temperature dropped to freezing levels. These ghosts delighted in tormenting me, their presence growing stronger as the night wore on. I thought my sanity would crumble under the relentless onslaught. But then, in the darkest hour, a strange man, tall and imposing, appeared amidst the chaos. He faced the spectral intruders with a fierce determination, driving them back one by one. With a powerful incantation, the man banished the ghosts, and the haunting atmosphere slowly dissipated. I couldn't believe my eyes. As the apparitions faded into nothingness, gasping for breath, I turned to the stranger who had saved me. From this nightmarish ordeal, he spoke in a deep, commanding voice. You should not have tried to shut the world out. For on this night, the boundaries between realms grow thin. I am the guardian of All Hallows Eve, here to protect those who respect the spirit of Halloween. I was left speechless, my aversion to the holiday replaced by a newfound respect. The guardian vanished into the night, and I was left with the realization that my actions had nearly cost me everything. From that day on, I embraced the spirit of Halloween, sharing my riches with the children who came knocking, and honoring the guardian who had saved my life. But as the years passed, the memory of that night faded, and I returned to my old ways. On a Halloween night, while I was alone, the guardian returned, not as a savior, but as a harbinger of my doom. His eyes glowed with an unholy light, and he whispered, "Your debt must be repaid." In an instant, the room transformed into a nightmarish realm, and the guardian's sinister grin widened. I realized with horror that my time had run out. The guardian had come to collect my soul, and there was no escape. As the shadows closed in around me, the guardian's laughter echoed in my ears, and I knew that my fate was sealed. I had scorned the spirit of Halloween once too often, and now I would pay the ultimate price for my arrogance. The room grew darker, and I was consumed by the eternal darkness of Halloween night.